Chris Gelser here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss bad times at the El Royale. I'll be sharing my thoughts about First Man. We'll discuss Jeremy Saulner's latest Hold the Dark, which is released on Netflix. And then finally, to be the return of What Are the Odds? And hey, look, everybody, Matt's back. I know you heard last week that he wasn't here, and I didn't really express any concern for his absence, but he actually is here. But he's going to be gone again next week. So he's quickly packing. So obviously this episode is mastered for packing for a trip to a foreign country. So this is really the best time to listen to this. And let's start everything off with a clip from the old El Royale.
Ladies got a hotter hand than we do, Father. I am very sorry to keep you waiting.
Damn, boy, where you been? Waiting in this lobby so long I could use a shave. What's wrong with you?
I'm very sorry. What are you doing here, Father?
Do I know you, son?
No, but I mean, this is not a place for a priest, Father. You shouldn't be here.
We might need to work on your sales pitch, son. The El Royale, no place for a priest.
There are other hotels, Father. Maybe closer to Tahoe, I could help you find one. I'm sure you would be happier there.
Miles, is it? If this is not a place for a priest, Miles, then this is exactly where the Lord wants me.
All right, Matt. So you got a pretty big cast in this film. Really some heavy hitters. But why don't you tell the folks at home, what is Bad Times at the El Royale all
Sure.
about?
All right. So 7 strangers with secrets all convene in this kind of 50s tacky hotel that's on the border, literally on the border of California and Nevada. And it essentially, over the course of the night, secrets are revealed and everything kind of goes to hell.
I guess it pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, that is.
So let me ask you, I got a question for you. There's definitely, I think, some Tarantino vibes in this thing.
Sure.
But was this would you have preferred to have seen this on the stage, or do you think the big screen was the place to go?
I'm not a huge fan of theater. So for me, the screen was fine. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see it working as a play pretty well. But I thought, you know, the way that it was shot, it gave it something, you know, completely different on the screen, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel this could be a really great stage play. That's one of the first things I felt like when I walked out of it. Though I think overall, I found maybe the story a bit too unwieldy. I feel like, so Drew Goddard did this, right? And he's done some pretty good stuff, right? He did the first Cloverfield.
Right.
And what's the one we like so much that's the horror comedy thing? The that sat on the shelf for years. Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, yeah. That was a good one.
So this is his latest film. And he wrote The Martian. I think this is really good for about 2/3. And then the last act, I don't know if it just kind of got away from him. It's just, I think it starts off really good, but I don't think it finishes very strong. And unfortunately, my apathy towards Dakota Johnson continues. I don't know. She's in Suspiria, which is supposed to be fantastic. So maybe that'll finally put her over the edge for me. Maybe she'll cross the Tatum line at that point. But I got to admit, I found her to be probably one of the weakest parts of this thing. Bridges is great. I don't know. I think even the framing devices, I felt like they were originally interesting. I'm like, come on, let's just get on with it. And this thing is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Am I wrong? What do you think?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, I thought it's an entertaining little B movie. It's interesting that you bring up the Tarantino comparison.
The framing of the film, the use of music, the violence. I mean, it felt very much like Goddard's, move toward auteur, where he wants to kind of deliver this stuff. But for me, it just didn't have enough style or flash, and I didn't find the writing that particularly gripping, really. The story was interesting enough and how they kind of tie everything together. But for the most, like I said, by the last act, I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, let's go.
Sure. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I think maybe you're being a little too hard on it. I mean, it's kind of its own little weird B movie thing. Like this, as you know, it seems like this is like in the, as you'll remember, because we're old men, in the wake of Pulp Fiction, we kind of got like a bunch of kind of lesser copycats, and this is kind of would fit right into that kind of stuff. And you know, some of those were enjoyable films, but they don't really have any staying power or legs. And I think that's what this is. I mean, I think for the most part, the performances are pretty strong across the board. It's entertaining, and it sucks you in for what it is for the first 2/3 to 3/4 of the film. And you know, I mean, yeah, it didn't stick the landing and it became kind of a mess, but at the same time, you know, for the most part, I enjoyed it. So it's about all you can ask for this type of film. It's just a small little film.
I mean, I enjoyed it. It's just I think we had some pacing issues, and it runs a little long.
Right.
That's all. I think we need a little bit of editing work here. But outside of that, it's fine. It's entertaining enough. The story is engrossing enough. The characters, for the most part, do have kind of really interesting stories to tell. But again, it's 220. Come on, man.
Unnecessary.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's a fine attempt at a kind of another Tarantino take, but it's like I said, it doesn't have that kind of same pop. It just doesn't. So I'm coming in at a B- for the El Royale. I'm not sure where you are.
I was kind of right on the fence. I'm probably going to be a little more generous and give it a B.
Okay.
As you can see, back to the status quo of us really differing on our grades.
I'll take it at this point.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the last show, so I'll have to listen to your guest host.
Well, it's Venom. Just take.
I'll take a listen. Don't spoil it for me. I have a long trip tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add about Bad Times?
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's kind of a little like you said. It's all these kind of big names from Chris Hemsworth and Bridges, kind of just taking on a role, like, and just because I thought it would be fun, kind of thing. Is really what this seems like to me, and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I was getting a little worked up, kind of looking forward to this the closer we got to it.
Yeah.
And I do like the genre of films. You know, I do enjoy this, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you were hoping to find that little diamond in the rough that we seem to get like every season, you know. So I guess we haven't hit it for the fall yet, so we'll see.
Not quite yet. If you get a chance to see Bad Times at the El Royale, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. All right, Matt. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes though and tell you what I thought about First Man.
I don't know what space exploration will uncover, but I don't think it'll be exploration just for the sake of exploration. I think it'll be more the fact that it allows us to see things that maybe we should have seen a long time ago, but just haven't been able to until now.
Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah. Neil, I was sorry to hear about your daughter.
I'm sorry, is there a question?
What I mean is, do you think it will have an effect?
I think it would be unreasonable to assume that it wouldn't have some effect.
So Ryan Gosling stars as Lance Armstrong in the story about his trip to be the first man on the moon, him and Buzz Aldrin, of course. Directed by Damien Chazelle, which reunites Gosling, of course, with La La Land previously. And it is a very in-depth, technically proficient, detailed story, Matt. It's quite good, but it's also a little cold and dispassionate. You can clearly see this if you do end up. You're not going to be around for a while, so I don't think you're going to have time to catch up with this one. So I thought I'd share my thoughts. If you do, I'd love to hear your thoughts down the road.
Sure.
But the Chazelle kind of keeps us at arm's distance throughout this thing, and with his direction and even his color palette. It's very not washed out isn't the right term, but it's just cold and distant, and which I believe this is what he's going for. Also with his portrayal and specifically Gosling's portrayal of Armstrong. I mean, he doesn't pull any punches with this. These people are portrayed as people. This is not some Spielbergo, Disneyfied version of First Man, right? This is very kind of what it tells you how it went. And it really focuses on the technical details. I saw this in Dolby Theater, and you really almost feel like what it's like to be in that capsule when they launch off that rocket into space. But I think at times maybe that's part of the issue, is that they get too focused on the technical aspects, and there's never real any connection to anybody in the cast. Now, maybe that's partly because that's just how people were back then, and that's how Armstrong was, and there's definitely a disconnect between him and his family, and possibly his connection to people in general. But he almost feels like a passenger. Pardon I don't know if it's a pun or not, but throughout this film. So, and Chazelle also uses a ton of close-ups to really kind of help us feel confined and share the pressure that Armstrong's feeling along with him and his family and his fellow astronauts. It's not really until you get to the moon, Matt, where he starts to actually give us some wide-angle shots. There's a lot of tight shots in this thing now. I wouldn't consider this a stumble by Chazelle. I think it's short of greatness like La La Land, I think, is. I just feel like it's maybe a little too analytical, and the emotional beats he attempts to interject just don't provide the desired impact. It's got an interesting score as well. Whenever I notice that, I like to point that out. But there are definitely echoes, I think, of La La Land in it. I could hear just little notes or things that definitely sounded familiar to me. But still, overall, it's good. And I think it's a film you should see. It's definitely an experience to see it on the biggest, loudest screen you can. Just be prepared to walk out kind of just not really connecting with the thing. That's all.
All right. That's
yeah.
I can't tell if that's damning praise or it's very strange praise you got going on there.
Oh, I'm giving it a B+. Okay. I definitely think it's good. It's not great, but it's very interesting. It's very good, and it's worth watching. Just like I said, it's just very. I'm assuming that this is just how you wanted to present it, because that's kind of how it was. But by doing so, he's robbing the audience of any real kind of emotional impact or investment. There's a real key scene at the end of the film, which almost quite gets you, but just doesn't quite, because of how basically just cold the rest of the film is. So those are my thoughts. If you've seen First Man, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. All right, Matt, let's go ahead and talk about what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. First up, Shout Factory, or I guess I should say Scream Factory, is going to be delivering a classic.
Christ, I can't see a friggin' thing. Where'd I leave my flashlight? You remember, Doc?
Never mind. Let's put this last name on it.
You hear that? There's something in there, Doc. Something shiny. It looks like a couple of emeralds.
That's why you don't open up old crates you find in stairwells in old buildings. So Creepshow is being released by Scream Factory, and a collector's edition includes a supervised brand new transfer approved by the director of photography, Michael Gornick. 9 new features, including a couple new audio commentaries as well. They went all out on this thing, and they ported over all the old stuff as well. So if you're a fan of Creepshow, this looks like the version to get. Other good stuff. Sorry to Bother You is being released on Blu-ray, and that includes audio commentary by the director, Boots Riley, and some making of featurettes. The only film I saw twice in the theater this year is being released, Matt. Any guesses what that was?
It
was Because of My Wife.
Okay. No, please tell me. I'm drawing a blank.
Christopher Robin is being released as well.
Okay. Which I didn't see at all. So there we go.
Yeah, initially I felt like it was a little too dark and kind of sad, but the second viewing was a lot more enjoyable. And I think I'll be picking this up just because my wife absolutely adored it.
Okay.
If you get it from Target, there's a storybook edition. I guess it's got a little book in it, and there's a few making of featurettes in that as well. What else is coming up? Mamma Mia, here we go again. Best Buy has a steel book. Target's got 20 extra minutes of bonus features. A new film starring Peter Dinklage is being released. I Think We're Alone Now. He plays a gentleman named Dell who's alone in his world. After the human race is wiped out, he lives in a small, empty town, content in his solitude and the utopia he's methodically created for himself until he is discovered by Grace, played by Elle Fanning, an interloper whose history and motives are obscure. Worse yet, she wants to stay. New to Blu-ray, Criterion is releasing Sisters, the Brian De Palma film starring Margot Kidder, on Blu-ray for the first time. Includes a new 4K digital restoration approved by De Palma himself, a new interview with actor Jennifer Salt, and some prior archival featurettes. We already told you about The Creep Show. What else are we getting? Get Shorty is being released on Blu-ray from Shout Select. Getting released. I'm really excited about this one, Matt, because you could buy this originally on iTunes digitally. But I'm always a little wary about that because, you know, if iTunes loses the permission or whatever it is, the deal, that goes away. So unless you download it, that movie could be taken away, and they really have no recourse for you. They may refund you, but they don't always.
It's messed up.
So finally, on Blu-ray, Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead, including the unrated cut, which you could only previously get on iTunes. It's been available internationally, but now domestically you can get the Blu-ray of his Evil Dead remake, which has really aged well for me. I bought the digital version because I wanted to have the unrated cut. But I think I will be picking up the Blu-ray as well at some point. It's a little too pricey right now. I think it's like $23. But if it drops, I'll definitely be picking that up. And then Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead from 1990 is getting a Blu-ray release. It was originally sold by Twilight Time, but that is sold out, and you're paying a hefty chunk of change if you want it. Well, Sony's actually releasing that now themselves. Unfortunately, there's no news at the time of recording, Matt, on what transfer they used or what print's being used or anything like that. So we don't know any of that detail.
All right.
And then Vestron is giving us Maximum Overdrive, which includes a whole bunch of new featurettes and making ofs. That's the one with Emilio Estevez when was it like a comet or something, lightning storm, and the machines come to life?
The machines come to life. And I believe Stephen King, it's based on a Stephen King story, and I believe this is the one film he directed while he was, quote, coked out of his mind. So it's fun all the time.
Includes audio commentary by Jonah Ray, which might be interesting. If you're not familiar, Jonah Ray is the star of the new Mystery Science Theater as well. And then your straight to DVD pick of the week. And by the way, season 2 starts shortly. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
They're in Orlando this weekend. I'm thinking about going. Him and Joel doing a 30th anniversary.
Oh, really? Yeah, you should do it, man. Do it.
Your straight to DVD pick of the week. I bought a vampire motorcycle. When a Satanist biker is killed by a gang of Hell's Angels, an evil spirit he was summoning possesses his old Norton Commando bike. So an unsuspecting local courier, Nick Naughty Oddie, played by Neil Morrissey, TV's Men Behaving Badly, becomes the bike's new owner. Little does he know that it runs on blood and has a habit for killing Hell's Angels and anyone else who gets in its way. Also features Anthony Daniels of C-3PO fame.
Oh.
And then Burt Koeck, who played Kato in the Pink Panther movies. So what should we be streaming this week?
All right. So it came out last month, but I'm gonna go ahead and mention it. One of the biggest Marvel movies of the year, and there were several of the 3, is Black Panther's available for streaming on Netflix. But I wanted to mention that, but I think the thing I'm going to suggest, since it is the season, the best time of the year, as far as me and Chris are concerned, it is Halloween time. So The Shining is available as of October 1st on Netflix. An all-time horror classic, Stanley Kubrick's kind of master class and kind of detached, chilly horror is a fantastic film. And if you are listening to this, you should have seen it. So if you have, just watch it again. And if you haven't, what is wrong with you? Stop listening right now and go watch it.
Like totes.
The goats.
I heard that Haunting on Hill House series is supposed to be really good too, and that's directed by our guy who did Annabelle Creation and Ouija 2 and some other stuff. So
yeah, I do want to check that out.
And of course, just your weekly reminder that Black Dynamite is available on Netflix.
It is. I think we've mentioned that a few dozen times.
So, all right, let's go ahead then and move on, Matt. Let's talk about Jeremy Saulnier. Man, I love me some Saulnier. But are we going to love Hold the Dark? Well, let's take a listen and find out.
Dear Mr. Core, 3 days ago, my son Bailey was taken by wolves. No one in the village will hunt them. My husband will come home from the war soon. I must have something to show him. So you come to kill him? To kill the one that took him?
I came to help if I can, to explain this if I can.
Always good to hear people's. So that's Jeffrey Wright, of course, and Jeremy Saulnier with Riley Keough and Jeremy Saulnier, written by Macon Blair's Hold the Dark. As you heard in that little snippet, Riley Keough plays Medora Sloan, and her child was taken by a pack of wolves. She requests to have Jeffrey Wright's Russell Core come hunt down the dog so they can bring back his body. But that's just the beginning. So I don't want to spoil too much with this thing. So we're both big Saulnier fans here. Is that a safe? Can I say that? Can I say that?
No, I can't say. No, I really enjoyed Green Room, but I've never seen Blue Ruin, so I can't speak to it. But I was looking forward to seeing this because as much as I enjoyed Green Room,
I remember I watched Blue Ruin first because I had heard it's really good, and I think it was on Netflix for a while. I'm not sure if it still is. And that's where Macon Blair, who also wrote this film, he stars in that, and which is basically it's just a hardcore revenge movie, but really what the true cost of revenge can be. And it is equally just like Green Room, just unrelenting, right? And so that's kind of what Saulnier is known for at this point. Just intense story arcs and these themes and narratives that they don't let go of you. They grab you by the neck and don't let go. They're also typically shockingly violent at times.
Right.
Hold the Dark for me, Matt. I didn't find it as relentless. It didn't have the suffocating narrative that Blue Ruin and Green Room have. I think it's a larger film. I think it encompasses more themes. We're talking like family, death, survival, mythology. There's another word I want to mention, but it's going to be a spoiler, so I guess I won't. But I'll tell you, it is never dull. All right? It's maybe more of a psychological horror film about just family and what, be you human or animal, right? And the depths you're willing to go, and how screwed up your moral compass could possibly be. So I just feel that Saulnier does a fantastic job, I think, capturing this world, this interweaving Alaskan folklore with this human animal characteristics as well. I like David Fear of Rolling Stone wrote it as it's an Arctic noir, which I thought was a really good turn of a phrase.
Yeah,
I found this thing riveting. And I never knew really where Saulnier was going to go with that next with this thing. And I really enjoyed this. What did you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I really enjoyed it. It doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have kind of that relentless pace where it's kind of like you're just on your edge and everything just feels so claustrophobic. This is actually quite the opposite insofar as it has a lot of room to breathe. And it's almost like instead of being, how do I want to describe it? Instead of being trapped in a space with the monsters that you can't get out and they're in there with you, it's like they're off in the shadows and you can't see them and you're standing in the middle of the field somewhere or something like that, and they're just out of sight. It's got a very ethereal kind of dreamlike quality to it. And I think he really leans heavy into kind of some of the more, I don't want to say supernatural, but like spiritual kind of stuff in it. And it's a different take for him, but it still has some of his hallmarks. It has, the way it's shot, it seems very similar to what I've seen of his in the past. And the sudden and shocking violence survives whole, intact. So, that is still there. Yeah, definitely a very different film than Green Room, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
And it has some really disturbing subject matter that I think Saulnier does a good job of laying out the seeds. I don't know if you connected one of those dots, Matt, between our married couple.
I don't know. Did I? I don't know. Do we want to spoiler it here?
No, we can talk about it off air. Okay. But it's so. Yeah, no. So I'm coming down with a B+ on Hold the Dark. I don't think it's as good as Green Room. I don't. No. I think it's a larger film.
Yeah.
And I think maybe similar to El Royale, maybe it's a bit too unwieldy. Maybe it doesn't quite get his hands around the whole thing.
Sure.
Or I think, that's not fair. I think maybe it dives into larger, grander themes. Mm-hmm. So it's a different type of film, but it's still a Saulnier film. You can tell that from the get-go. And he has a very particular style. And if you're into his work, I think you're really going to enjoy this. If you're not, this may be a bit too far afield for you. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, and I gave it a B+. Where'd you come down?
Yeah, I think you put it very well. I think if you're a fan of Saulnier, you're going to like it. If you're of that kind of bent, you're going to like this film, but I don't think it's going to win any new converts for sure. Like if you didn't like Green Room or what you've said about Blue Ruin, I can't imagine you're going to like this film better, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, it's just a completely different approach. And I thought it was really, really interesting. I enjoyed it. I gave it a B+ as well.
Okay. Finally, some conflict.
I know, right? God. We need to people are writing in saying that you guys need to get along. I don't understand why you are doing this show together because you never can agree on anything.
I was at a wedding this past weekend and it was brought up.
Oh, really?
So we may have to try and interject somehow some conflict. So I have some ideas for that. We'll have to see if we can figure that out.
Oh, okay.
Now we're going to be authentic people. We're not going to just make stuff up just to have fake conflict. We would never do that to you.
Yeah. But when we have conflict, it's real. Usually Chris
That's true.
He makes some grand statement how I'm wrong in every single opinion, and it just it goes from there.
That's right. So, all right. If you get a chance to see Blue Ruin, that too. But if you've seen Hold the Dark, which is available on Netflix right now, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'm always open to making new friends.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt, let's move on then, and let's wrap this sucker up with a rousing rendition of What Are the Odds? I'll tell you right now, I'm not wearing pants.
I thought you boys understood. It's business. That's all it is. You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want. What's wrong with having it good for a change? Now they're going to let us have it good if we just help them. They're going to leave us alone. Let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life too. Now I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
Do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
So of course that is John Carpenter warned us.
Yeah.
Decades ago, what was going to happen, and that, of course, is They Live.
Mm-hmm. So that we potentially both have a very similar question, but go ahead.
Potentially, yeah. So Carpenter was interviewed recently, and they asked him about remaking his films or making sequels to them, and he was all in. Right. Basically saying, "Hey, it sounds like a money-making opportunity for me. I'm all for it."
Right.
Which maybe not the artistic answer you're looking for, but still. And I've actually really been getting into Carpenter again. By the way, as an aside, when I was in Connecticut for that wedding, did you know video production company Vinegar Syndrome is in Bridgeport, Connecticut?
I did not know that, but it fits.
I went into their store called The Archive because they have a record store and they show videos. And I'm talking to the cat who's working the register, and he's got a Vinegar Syndrome sweater zip-up thingy, whatever you kids call them nowadays. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's us. We're Vinegar Syndrome. The 2 floors above me are all them."
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna set him up. We're gonna give him a call, Matt. We're gonna start. I want to start maybe doing some interviews. So we'll see if we can get Vinegar Syndrome to be our first one.
Okay.
So hopefully set that up when you get back, so you can participate with that. But still, I got a free T-shirt out of it, which I'm excited about, which I'll be modeling next week. I would wear it tonight, but I just got back from softball, so I'm a little gross.
Yeah.
They also had this great John Carpenter T-shirt, Matt, where it's It's just stacked VHSs of all of Carpenter's films.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Spines.
Yeah.
Really cool. I'll wear that one too. That one's pretty cool. So that's what are the odds, Matt, that we actually start getting John Carpenter remakes or sequels?
Yeah, as much as I would like it to happen, I'm gonna say 25%. I just don't, as much as I like a lot of the man's work, I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know if he has the power to pull it. I mean, They Live is a quintessential cult classic. I mean, that thing is cult and it's awesome, but it's got a it's a devoted audience, but it's a small audience. So, you don't want to get another Blade Runner 2049 thing going on as much as we love that film. So I don't know, but we don't have Roddy Piper anymore, but we do still have Keith David. So
That's
here
true.
we go.
Would you want a sequel or a remake? I think a remake may be the better way to go.
Yeah, I know. I think I read the same article that you did, or at least one of the articles, and Carpenter's leaning more towards a sequel, which I guess could be interesting in our times now.
That's exactly why I think I'd want a remake, though, because of that. But I see his point.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to see. Listen, he's got such a wide over that I think we will. Will it be Starman? I don't know. They are, I think, in talks to make a Prince of Darkness TV show.
Okay.
I think one of the pay networks, like an HBO or something. That I would be into.
Well,
Prince of Darkness 2 is a pretty good kind of B horror film. Let me put it this way: it has its moments.
It has its moments.
We'll put it that way. Obviously,
it has some nuggets of goodness in there.
Yes, The Thing still is his masterwork.
It is.
Man, I get sad when I think about that the thing just didn't work out financially, because his whole career would have been entirely different.
Yeah, and it's a tragedy because that is a fantastic film. That's one of the best films I've ever seen. It's that good. But The Thing has been low key remade already, so as a kind of soft reboot, sequel or prequel thing.
Yeah, I'll never understand why the studio came in and just made them do CGI, even though they originally had practical effects. One of the key things about Carpenter's film was the practical whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so the odds are, I'm actually going to go a little higher, Matt. I'm going 45%, just because. Now, it's not going to be Ghost from Mars. All right, we know that. And we already have the Halloween sequel, so that counts, right?
Okay.
But other films.
Well, we've got Escape from L.A. There's a sequel to that, right? Escape from New York. Yeah.
So that would be it. I would go, and I wonder if I would probably go They Live, Escape from New York in this order, and then Prince of Darkness. If I had to choose 3 films of his I'd like to see remade.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want a sequel to Escape from L.A. I would redo it. I just don't know with who.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's big shoes to fill right there.
Yeah. But I don't know who today's Kurt Russell is. We should do that sometime too. I know we've done the other stuff. We've done Tom Hanks, Jim Stewart, and Cary Grant, George Clooney. But who's the Kurt Russell today?
Exactly.
Besides Kurt Russell.
Besides Kurt Russell. Well, and maybe, I don't know if I want to see Escape from Miami. I don't know if I want to see that.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, so speaking of Halloween, this weekend coming up is the big Danny McBride reboot, Halloween. It's got some really good early buzz, which does not bode well for my chances. I might go 2 in the hole on this Price is Right game here. Oh, actually, no. We both went over for Venom, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're starting with a clean slate right now. But
82% right now. Friday at noon is when we count it.
Yeah, so I'm obviously not confident that I'm going to win on this one, but the early buzz is that they're saying that this thing is going to at least tie Venom's October record of getting maybe $65 million over the weekend, which would be insane for a horror movie, right? So my question is this: if Halloween is a huge success, what are the odds we're going to get? They're going to fast track some reboots and remakes of the other big 80s franchises. And I'm going to lay them out, and you tell me what the odds for each one, okay? Now, granted, these were rebooted earlier, but Nightmare on Elm Street.
I mean, here's the thing, Matt. They're all going to be in the 90s because they're proven cash cows. You just sit on them long enough, and then you reboot them. So Nightmare on Elm Street is.
But have they sat on Nightmare on Elm Street long enough? I mean, because that's still within recent memory. That bad taste.
Yeah, and I liked Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy. I thought he did a fine job. The problem itself is just the movie was horrible.
Yeah, the movie was terrible.
Platinum Dunes, everything they touched just dies.
Yeah. I like I actually have some affection for their Friday the 13th remake. I don't know why I like it, but I do like it.
Or that Jason like runs a pot farm and he's protecting it.
I think that's coincidental, but yes,
Okay.
yes, that's the one I like. Yes.
out of the remakes they've done, I agree with you that Friday the 13th is the better one.
Yeah.
But
it's fun.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's like I don't know. It's going to be 100% across. So yeah, they'll make another Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Maybe it'll be 5 more years, but they will. 100%, or no doubt.
100%. You don't even, that's it. That's all you got to go. Friday the 13th, Hellraiser.
They just made another Hellraiser sequel like a year ago.
Those are atrocious. I really like the first film. The first film was fun. I like it. It's good.
The second film was one of the few movies I had to stop while I was watching.
Really?
Yeah. I was a young kid. I was home alone and I had the lights out and I was watching Hellraiser 2. And there's a scene where the guy's on the mattress and he thinks there's bugs all over him and the guy hands him a straight razor and he starts cutting himself.
Yeah.
And that freaked me out. I was probably 13. I don't know. But it freaked me out so much. I had to stop the movie and turn on all the lights and take a Mississippi there too.
Yeah.
And then
look at the lasting damage it's done to you.
Yeah.
This is what we have today, folks.
That's right. Hellraiser, I don't know. Well, they're going to do a reboot. They may do a reboot in 10 years, so I'll say 80%.
80%? All right. Yeah, I guess if you have a long enough timeline, you can almost guarantee that all of these things are going to get remade again, you know? So, but I don't know. It just gives me pause because, so you have one hit, but they've tried to remake Halloween multiple times. They've tried to remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and they're just all, with the exception of my unearned affection for the Friday the 13th remake, I mean, they've all been pretty bad. I mean, so, you know, I don't know. I would think that maybe they would not do it, but if, you know, like you said, if the money comes in, they're going to do it. It's almost 100% guarantee.
Yeah, and they'll just reboot it. I'm sure there'll be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in another 5 years or so.
Yeah, and that's just wrong because the whole charm of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and why that film works is because it's so low rent and just ugly. Like, you can't make a slick modern version of that. It's just not going to look right.
The second one is a fun film, but it's a very, very different movie. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
The first one, and outside of that, I think everything else has just been totally forgettable.
Yeah.
But that first one is terrifying.
Yeah, it's scary, man. That thing holds up.
And it's not even that gory at all.
It's
all happens in your head. All right. Matt, what are the odds The Rock gets an Oscar nomination?
Oh, for what? Just in general and in
down
his
the road
lifetime?
someday. Do you think he'll do at some point where he'll turn serious and go for the nom?
Look, so here's the thing. So we've had this discussion. I think you have a bigger affection for The Rock than I do.
I'm starting to slip, to be honest.
Yeah. I have not been impressed with his role choice. And if he keeps going like this, he's got to burn out at some point. I mean, you can only make so many disappointing, you know, middling action films that are just ridiculous. I mean, it's got to burn out sometime. I mean, look at Vin Diesel. I mean, Rock's been able to keep it going for longer than anybody else has, but I don't know. I 5% chance. I would be very, very surprised. I would see him as like a governor or something, or some politician before we would see him win an Oscar.
He's a Republican, by the way, folks.
Yeah, he is.
Odds are The Rock gets an Oscar nomination. I am going to go 28%.
That's a very specific number.
Yeah, I don't know. He could, you know, when he's 50, he does like an aging bodyguard type movie or something.
He does like his version of The Wrestler.
Exactly.
You
so
go.
You never know. So
all right, maybe
What
you're
do you-
right. Never say never. All right, so this is a bit of a stretch, but I think it counts because we did a series on these films, or at least one of these shows. So they've canceled the Iron Fist series. Shocker of all shockers. So, but they but there is, you know, Daredevil 3 is coming out, and I think they're going to keep Netflix series. So I guess this is my question: with Daredevil being canceled and Luke Cage kind of being what it is,
yes.
What do you think they just kind of combine the two of them and just give us the heroes for hire that we want?
I thought that's what was going to happen already. I really thought after the poor showing of Iron Fist that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But maybe Michael Coulter's like, oh, hell no, you're not saddling me with that. So, but I hope so. I hope they, for maybe for it's
A
not
short
Power
series
Man,
like
Luke
6?
Cage season 3.
Yeah.
We get him with Iron. From what I haven't watched it yet because I'm only 3 episodes deep on Jessica Jones season 2 or 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I haven't started watching Iron Fist yet, and I haven't seen the most recent Luke Cage series yet either.
Yeah.
I actually, so the odds we get that, I'll say 63%. I say they'll go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little less confident, but I'm gonna say 60% because I guess Finn Jones. Well, I guess this is what I'm saying. I was gonna go lower than that, but I don't know what Finn Jones's contract is because like I don't know if he's still contracted to do more Defenders. Like I don't know.
Oh, I thought they weren't going to do Defenders anymore. I thought
they weren't. Oh,
that may end up being just a one-off.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
Maybe
But I mean, Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Those are two great tastes that go great together. They are the Reese's peanut butter cup of this group, and they have to be together.
That's true. No, they certainly are. What the? Oh, you're so lucky. I had a little clip to play here, and it didn't play. Something's corrupted. I'm very depressed by that. I'll have to fix that. I got a new drop, which is so good. It did not work.
Is it about pie?
It may be. I've talked to the interns. I got to tell you.
You son of a bitch.
Oh, well. Yeah, I just actually started watching Star Trek Discovery, which is not bad. I'm about.
How did you get a hold of that?
No,
you weren't getting on the streaming service. Where
no. You can get it. You can buy it now.
Oh, you can buy it now. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Okay. What's my last one? Here we go, Matt. What are the odds when Abrams comes back for the next Star Trek, the next Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
That Rey actually has, air quotes, important parents. Do you think he's going to rewrite that stuff? He's not bound by what Johnson did.
He's not. See, this thing is just such a cluster. It's such a cluster. Because obviously Abrams set it up as like to be a specific way, have a certain structure. Johnson comes in and just basically lights it all on fire. Then they give it back to Abrams, and it's like, here you go. Here's the skeleton remains of your story. What are you gonna do with it? Kind of thing. I'm gonna say 80%. Like I think he's gonna. Really? I don't think he can resist. There's gotta be, just because it's Star Wars and just because it's Abrams, and I don't think he's of the fandom that I think is the reverent fundamentalist Star Wars fan, where he wants it to be kind of what we've seen in the past. So it's just not a Star Wars film if there's not some kind of significant familial connection, right? Where some destiny thing is going on. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to resist. I mean, they already got rid of Snoke, who was supposed to be important in some way. I'm almost just waiting for him to like resurrect Snoke. Like he's going to come out and be like, just kidding, guys. Just like Darth Maul survived being cut in half. Here I am. So, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good shot. 80%.
I'm concerned that that Kylo Ren's going to have a Vader redemption arc, which I kind of don't want.
Yeah.
I want him to go all in. I mean, I still sometimes wonder about that whole thing with Vader too. I read this online. So you throw an old man down an elevator shaft, which makes up for the hundreds of thousands of people, including
don't
children
forget, like
that you massacred.
Dozens of 5-year-olds that he personally killed.
Exactly. I just don't think that's a 1-to-1 trade-off. I really don't.
So. I mean, he did free trillions and trillions of people from the yoke of oppression. So there is that, I guess. But he put that yoke on them in the first place. So I don't know.
He didn't do a great job either, considering there's still
we're still fighting about it.
Yeah, the First Order.
Yeah, I'm actually, so to be Star Wars nerdy about it, I'm actually hoping you're right. I'm hoping that Kylo Ren goes full bore, but I kind of like that whole balance thing they got going on. Like, I hope they don't kill him. I hope they stay, like the two of them stay as kind of like opposing forces of each other. I think that'd be a cool way to go. I don't give Abrams enough credit to do that, though.
Yeah. So does Rey have important parents for me? I think he sticks with it, Matt. I'm gonna go 32%.
Oh, really? You think he's gonna be like, fine, Johnson, fine?
I think as a story, it's a much more interesting story. I think the twist turn would be a little cheap, and though it would fit right in with the mythos. I don't know. I would like it to be left alone, and I think maybe they'll respect that. And I just don't know what else we'll do. We'll see.
You know what, man? Star Wars there's trilogies, man. They're repeating lyrical poems. The themes are the same over and over and over again.
Yep. Yes. All right. Anything else?
No, because you took my John Carpenter one earlier, so there we go. I only have 2 now.
All right, I got one more for you then.
Okay.
They keep announcing more people added to this cast. Now, first Idris Elba, Ian McKellen, Jennifer Hudson, James Corden, Taylor Swift, and today Judi Dench have all signed up for the big screen adaptation of Cats.
Of one of the worst musicals, and I really hate musicals, and it's just a bad one.
Cats
Why?
Is bad. So what are the odds that Cats is good? Or did I say that? Should we keep it? Is Cats is good, or Cats has a Rotten Tomato score of 70% or above?
God, that's tough. I'm gonna say 20% chance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, there's no way. I mean, the source material is just schmaltzy garbage. So, like, I don't know. I don't even see how you can elevate the material. So, above 70%, 77% or above, no, 20%, 20% chance.
That works for me. Yeah, no, I don't. I like doing weird numbers tonight, so I'm gonna go 47% chance, because you never know. Maybe they'll work it out.
I doubt it.
I am not looking forward to that at all.
I'm not going to watch it, and if you make me go see it, I'm going to be very upset.
It is horrible stuff. All right. That's going to be the big show for this week. Next week, here's the fun thing. Yeah, so as I said, Matt has deserted me, which I'm very, very upset about, but I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah.
And guest host Chris Esposito will be joining us to discuss how.
Wow. So see, there we can get some conflict. There could be some conflict there.
I also, there's a lot of stuff coming out, actually. Here's what's going to be hitting my local theater next week, Matt, or this Friday. Halloween, right? The Hate You Give, Old Man and the Gun, The Sisters Brothers, The Oath, all films that I want to see. So I'm gonna be working my AMC A list overtime very soon.
Yeah.
So we're gonna at least be discussing Halloween. I don't know what else we'll be discussing. Espo may probably only be able to do the one. So we'll see. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We are everywhere. Just look for The First Run. Type it in the search. Scroll. Eventually you will find us. Go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. I will read it on the air, and it'll also help other people find the show. And that's going to be the big show for this week, Matt. We'll take an extended break. We'll see you in a couple weeks, right, Matt?
Yeah, I'll be back.
There you go. And then we'll reconvene and go from there. See you all soon.
I've got one that can see.